She showed up with a baby. He's yours, she said. My wife was upstairs. What came next broke me. My name is Sam Calloway, and my family is a mess. But it wasn't always like this. When I was younger, everything seemed perfect. My parents were the ideal suburban couple, picture-perfect house, smiles at every family gathering, and everyone respected each other's space. We were the Calloways, after all. No drama, no secrets, just one big happy family. That all changed when Olivia came into the picture. Olivia was my first love. I met her when I was 18. She was charming, clever, everything I wanted in a girlfriend at the time. She made me feel like the world was full of possibilities, and her smile was enough to disarm even the most cynical person in the room. I was smitten. I even managed to convince my family to like her, despite a few red flags that they were too polite to mention. Things weren't perfect, but they were fine. We lived in a bubble until I graduated college. Then came the proposal. It was on a cold, windy evening in the middle of November. I remember that night like it was yesterday. I had just finished a long day of classes and was looking forward to relaxing on the couch with a book. But then, there she was, standing in front of me, holding out a ring. "Marry me, Sam," she said, her voice filled with promise. I froze. The words hit me like a truck. I'd always been the kind of person who thought he had his life figured out, but in that moment, looking at that ring, I realized I wasn't ready to take that leap. I said no. The shock in her eyes is something I'll never forget. It wasn't that I didn't love her, I did, but I realized, in that instant, that I wasn't ready to marry her. And when I said no, I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. The real chaos began after that moment. A few weeks after rejecting Olivia's proposal, I started noticing things. Subtle things. My mom was unusually quiet, my dad kept giving me these disappointed looks, and my younger brother, Liam, who usually had my back no matter what, started questioning my decision. "Are you sure you made the right choice?" he asked me one evening over dinner. It took everything in me to keep a straight face. "I'm sure, Liam. I know what I'm doing." But I wasn't sure. Was I really making the right decision? Was I throwing away the perfect relationship just because I wasn't ready to settle down? Or was I being selfish? A week later, I got the call. My mom invited me over for dinner, and I knew something was off. When I walked in, I was greeted by her fake smile. But the second I stepped into the living room, I saw Olivia sitting on the couch, her eyes locked on me with an almost pleading expression. My stomach churned. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom smiled and gestured for me to sit down. "Sam, sweetheart, we need to talk. Your father and I have been discussing things, and we really believe that you made a huge mistake." I was so confused, I almost laughed. "What are you talking about?" "We think you should give Olivia another chance," Mom said, her tone almost too calm. "You know, you two were meant to be. We all saw it. This isn't something to walk away from." Before I could respond, Liam piped in from the kitchen, his voice filled with guilt. "You're breaking her heart, you know? She's devastated." My eyes flicked between the three of them. What was happening? This wasn't about me anymore. This was about them wanting me to reconcile with a woman who didn't understand the word boundaries. "I don't care what you think," I said, my voice suddenly more firm than I expected. "I've made my decision, and I don't want to go back to Olivia." Mom stood up, her face growing redder by the second. "You're being selfish, Sam. You're ruining everything." And that was the moment I realized this wasn't about love, it was about control. My family, especially my mom, had made Olivia the perfect daughter-in-law in their heads, and they weren't going to let me ruin that fantasy just because of my own feelings. A few weeks after the dinner incident, things escalated in a way I could never have predicted. I got a message from my mom, asking me to come over for lunch again. I ignored it at first, my gut told me it was a trap. But then, I thought, maybe they've finally realized that I won't back down. I told myself it'd be okay to face them one last time. Big mistake. When I walked into the house, I was blindsided by the sight of Olivia sitting at the dining table, looking like she'd been waiting for me all morning. But what really made my blood run cold was the new face at the table, Maya, my older sister, who I hadn't spoken to in 4 years. I stood frozen in the doorway. I didn't even realize I had stopped breathing until I heard Maya's voice. "Sam," she said, her smile too wide. "I hope you're ready to make things right." The realization hit me like a brick wall. I wasn't being invited to lunch. I was being forced to reconcile. I turned around to walk out, but Liam's voice stopped me. "Don't leave yet, please. We just want you to listen." I was about to say something when Maya stood up and read a letter. A letter that sounded more like a script than a heartfelt plea. Her words stung like needles. It is clear to all of us that you've made a terrible mistake, she read aloud, her voice sickeningly sweet. And we feel it's our duty to fix it. Not just for you, but for all of us. I shook my head in disbelief. What the hell was going on? Were they seriously doing this? As if on cue, my mom joined in, adding, "We believe Olivia is the woman for you. And we want you to take her back, not just for your sake, but for the sake of our family's future." I blinked, stunned into silence. And that was when Maya dropped the bomb. "We also think you should consider letting Olivia be the mother of your child. And once the baby is born, you should have your wife sign over her rights. This is what's best for the family, Sam." The room spun as I stood there, struggling to comprehend what Maya had just said. My breath caught in my throat, my heart pounding in my ears. There was no way I had just heard her correctly. I took a shaky step back, my mind racing. "What did you just say?" I managed to choke out. Maya's expression didn't change. If anything, she looked even more confident now. "We're just doing what's best for you. We all want what's best for you, Sam. You have to trust us." I couldn't breathe. My head felt heavy, my chest tight. Olivia's eyes flicked nervously between Maya and me, as though waiting for me to agree, as if I were supposed to suddenly accept all of this. This madness. My mind was a mess of disbelief, anger, and confusion. How could they be doing this? How could they manipulate me like this again? I felt a rush of heat to my face and realized that the tears I had been holding back for so long were finally breaking free. I wiped them away, furious at myself for showing weakness in front of these people. "You really think I'll let you take my baby away from me, don't you?" I said, voice cracking with emotion. My legs felt weak, but I refused to sit down. I stood tall, defiant. "I don't care what you think is best. I'm done with this. I'm done with all of you." My mom, who had been silent until now, opened her mouth. "Sam, you're being unreasonable." "No, Mom," I snapped, cutting her off. "You've been unreasonable. I've been living my life, and you've been sabotaging it from the beginning. I should have known better than to trust any of you. You've been playing me like a puppet for years." I turned to leave, but Olivia stood up quickly, blocking my path. "Sam, please. You don't understand. We're just trying to help you. This is what's right." I could see the sweat forming on her forehead. She was clearly scared. But it wasn't of me, it was of what I might do next. "You're not the one who gets to decide what's right for me," I said, glaring at her. "You lost that privilege the second you thought you could come back into my life and manipulate me. You're a coward, Olivia. And you're not welcome here anymore." I pushed past her, but that was when I saw the one person who could potentially turn this situation upside down, Liam, my brother. He wasn't saying anything. He wasn't moving. But there was something in his eyes. Something that told me he was finally starting to see the truth. For the first time in years, I wasn't looking at my younger brother, the one who had always backed my mom and Maya, but the man who could see the mess his family had become. Without a word, Liam turned and followed me to the door. "Sam, wait please," he said, voice almost desperate. But this time, he wasn't pleading on behalf of my mom or Maya. He was pleading for me. Maybe there was hope for him yet. I was in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ached. I could still feel the sting of Maya's words in my chest. I wasn't sure what hurt more, the fact that she thought I was incapable of making my own decisions or that she actually believed I'd let her tear my life apart. But then, I saw Liam pull up behind me in his truck. He got out, walking up to my car with a quiet urgency. I rolled down the window just enough to see his face. "I don't want any part of this," he said, his voice low and filled with sincerity. "But what they did, what Mom did, it's wrong. I know you don't need me to tell you that, but I just want you to know I'm not siding with them anymore. I'm with you." The weight of his words hit me harder than anything else in that house. I was angry, hurt, and exhausted, but now I felt a glimmer of relief. Finally, someone understood. Someone was on my side. "Thank you, Liam," I whispered, unable to hold back the tears anymore. "But I can't keep doing this. I'm not going back there. I'm not going to let them destroy everything." "I get it." "I do," Liam said, his face showing regret. "I was wrong for going along with them for so long. I was a coward. But no more." I nodded, the weight lifting slightly from my chest. "I don't want to be part of this toxic mess anymore. It's not healthy, for anyone. And I won't allow it to affect my baby. I can't." He placed a hand on the roof of my car, hesitating before speaking again. "You're right. I'll deal with Mom and Maya. You just focus on getting through this. We're here for you. All of us, Dad, me, everyone who's been supporting you." As Liam drove off, I took a deep breath. I had made it out of that house, out of their clutches. But I knew my mom and Maya weren't done yet. I knew that. They wouldn't stop until they got what they wanted, control. That night, after a long talk with my wife, Emily, I decided to take action. We needed to protect ourselves from what was coming next. I couldn't risk them showing up at my door again, or worse, trying to take legal action. Emily was on board with everything. The next morning, I called a lawyer. If I was going to get through this, I needed to be smart. I needed a plan. Emily stood by my side every step of the way. Her unwavering support was the only thing keeping me grounded. The thought of our baby, of building a future that was ours, kept me focused. I wasn't going to let my family tear that apart. I didn't want to waste any more time on my toxic family. I was going to cut them out for good. But things didn't go as smoothly as I hoped. A few days later, as I was settling into my new routine, taking walks, preparing for the baby, trying to block out the noise from my family, I got the text. It was from my mom. It was short, blunt, and cut to the heart of everything I feared. I know where you live now. I'll see you soon. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. The text was clear. She knew where I was. And she was coming for me. It was the text that changed everything. I thought I had prepared myself for the inevitable drama, the manipulation, and the constant gaslighting. But that text, a simple, chilling message from my mom, shook me to my core. I know where you live now. I'll see you soon. I read it 3 times, my mind trying to process the words. How did she find out? I had gone to such lengths to make sure my location was private, to keep my life and my baby's life away from the chaos of my family. But now, it was all slipping away. I didn't know if I should feel terrified, furious, or a strange mixture of both. Emily, my rock through all of this, was in the kitchen when I got the text. I walked in, phone still in hand, my face pale. "What's wrong?" she asked, instantly noticing my expression. I handed her the phone, unable to speak. She read the message and cursed under her breath. "We need to get a plan in place. This isn't going to end well," she said, her jaw set with determination. I nodded, swallowing hard. I knew what I had to do next. But I didn't expect how quickly things would spiral out of control. 2 days later, it happened. I had been staying at home, trying to distract myself with a book and a warm cup of tea, trying to pretend that things were okay. Emily was at work, and I had finally allowed myself to relax for the first time in days. Then there was a knock on the door. I froze. At first, I thought it was just a neighbor or a delivery. But as the knocks grew louder, more persistent, I knew. It was my mom. My stomach flipped, and I stood up, pacing the room. What was she going to do? Would she try to force her way in? Would she make a scene in front of my neighbors? I couldn't let her. I wouldn't let her. I quickly grabbed my phone and texted Emily, "She's here. I need you." Then, I did the only thing I could think of. I called the non-emergency police line, asking for assistance. I wasn't sure how bad things would get, but I wasn't about to let my mother invade my space without taking steps to protect myself. I couldn't believe I was doing this. But when your own mother pushes you to the edge, there's no other choice. Boundaries were non-existent in my family, and it had finally become my responsibility to create them. The knock at the door came again, louder this time, with an impatient bang. I opened the window slightly, just enough to see her standing on the porch, pacing back and forth. She didn't look angry, she looked desperate. Her face was drawn, and her eyes were wild, almost manic. This wasn't the woman I had once trusted. This was someone I didn't recognize anymore. I didn't open the door. I couldn't. I just stood there, staring at her, trying to figure out what to do next. By the time Emily arrived, my mom was still on the porch, trying to get in. She had left me several messages by this point, each one more frantic than the last, each one pushing harder at my boundaries. Emily pulled into the driveway, and I could see her through the window, walking toward the front door. When she reached it, I gave her a look, one that told her everything she needed to know. She didn't have to ask. Without hesitation, Emily stepped outside, facing my mom. "This is not okay, Karen," her voice was calm but firm. "You need to leave." My mom turned to her, her eyes narrowing. "You're the one turning him against us, aren't you? You think you can control him? You think you can keep him away from his family? This is a mistake. All of you are making a mistake." Emily didn't flinch. "No. You're the one who's making a mistake. You can't just barge in here, demand things, and expect it to be okay." The tension between them was thick. I stayed inside, listening to their conversation unfold like a slow-motion car crash. I wanted to step in, but I knew it would only make things worse. This was something they had to handle. It wasn't about me anymore, it was about protecting our family. Emily finally stepped back, but my mom wasn't done. She raised her voice to a near scream. I'm his mother. I deserve to see him, my grandchild. I stepped forward, opening the door slightly, my eyes locking with hers. No, Mom. You don't deserve anything from me anymore. My words were like a slap in the face. She stared at me, wide-eyed, her mouth hanging open in disbelief. What did you say? She asked, her voice shaky. I said I'm done, I replied, my voice stronger than I'd ever expected it to be. You've crossed every line. I've asked you to respect my boundaries, and you haven't. You're not welcome here. You're not welcome in my life anymore. That was it. That was the moment that changed everything. I thought that once I set those boundaries, things would settle. I thought that by standing my ground, I would finally be able to get some peace. But peace, it turns out, was elusive. A few days later, I was shocked when I received another package in the mail. I thought it was from a friend, maybe a well-meaning gift or a delivery from a store. But when I opened it, I found something much darker. Inside the package was a picture of me and Emily from a wedding we attended 2 years ago. But the photo wasn't from a public source. Someone had clearly taken it without our knowledge. It was a threat. Attached was a note written in my mom's handwriting. You can't hide forever. You'll regret this. I'll never give up on what's mine. I sat there, staring at the photo, completely numb. This was more than just a mother's anger. This was an obsession. My mother was fixated on me and my choices, and this wasn't over. I realized that night that things were never going to go back to the way they were. There would be no going back from this. I had cut ties with my mother, but she wasn't going to let me go without a fight. I spoke with Emily, and we agreed that we would continue to keep a low profile. My dad's attempts to reach out had been ignored. He understood, but he was also devastated by how everything had turned out. He was torn between his loyalty to me and the long years of marriage he'd spent with my mom. But the biggest revelation came when my dad sent me a letter. I can't fix what I've done, but I can stand by you now. Your mom has gone too far, and I've realized it's time to stop trying to keep peace at any cost. You're right. I should have seen the signs years ago. I'll support you, no matter what. The week after my mom's threatening package arrived, everything felt like it was spiraling out of control. I knew I had to keep my cool, but deep down, I was still reeling from the realization that my mother, the woman who had raised me, was capable of something so twisted. I wasn't just hurt anymore, I was scared. I didn't know where this war with my family would end, but one thing was clear, it wasn't going to stop until they had everything they wanted. And I refused to let them take it. Not my life. Not my baby. Not my future. It wasn't long before I made the decision to take legal action. The constant threats, the harassment, the manipulative messages, it was all becoming too much. I couldn't allow my family to continue to infringe upon my life. This wasn't just about standing up for myself anymore. This was about protecting my family. I scheduled an appointment with my lawyer and explained everything: my mom's escalating behavior, the text messages, the photo she had sent, and her refusal to respect any of my boundaries. My lawyer, a sharp and no-nonsense woman named Tessa, listened carefully, taking notes as I spoke. When I finished, she looked at me and said, "This is harassment, Sam. It's time to set a firm boundary. Legally." I wasn't sure what that meant at first. Could I really file a restraining order? Could I sever ties completely and legally protect myself from the woman who once meant everything to me? Tessa wasted no time. We'll get a cease and desist letter to her immediately. I'm also recommending we file for a restraining order. I know it sounds extreme, but based on the pattern of her behavior, you're dealing with someone who's unwilling to respect your decisions. We need to act fast before things escalate further. By the end of the week, the letter was sent. It was polite but firm, outlining that any further attempts to contact me would be considered harassment and would be reported. We had also included a warning that if she continued her behavior, legal action would be pursued. I held my breath, waiting for her response. I knew it wouldn't be pretty, but I didn't anticipate how much worse it would get. The response came 2 days later. It wasn't a call, nor was it a text. Instead, it was another package, this one even bigger and more ominous than the last. I opened it with a sense of dread, already knowing it was going to be something shocking. Inside the package was a video. A video that my mom had filmed, narrating her version of the story, her distorted, paranoid version. In the video, she talked about how I was a betrayer. How I had abandoned her. How I had ruined our family by choosing Emily, and how she had every right to see her grandchild. She claimed that I was mentally unstable, that I was being manipulated by Emily, and that it was her duty to step in and save me. Watching the video made me feel sick to my stomach. But I wasn't surprised. This was the woman who had always been able to twist the truth and manipulate everyone around her to fit her narrative. She was trying to play the victim, to make everyone feel sorry for her, to turn Emily and Liam against me. She was trying to paint me as the bad guy. And for the first time, I realized something: this wasn't just about controlling me. It was about retaking power. In the days that followed, the situation at home only grew more tense. My phone kept buzzing with messages from people I barely recognized anymore: distant relatives, family friends, people who had heard the fake narrative my mom and Maya were spreading. They all asked me if I was okay. They wanted to know what had happened, what had caused the rift. It was exhausting. And to make matters worse, I hadn't heard a word from my father. He was supposed to be my ally, my support. But after everything had unfolded, he had withdrawn, leaving me to fend for myself. I had a conversation with him one afternoon when he finally called me. "I know it's been hard," he said, sounding worn out. "I'm trying to figure this out too, Sam." "Figure it out?" I repeated, anger flaring inside me. "What is there to figure out, Dad? You've been quiet this whole time. You're supposed to be on my side, but you've been silent while Mom tries to tear me apart. I never wanted it to get this far. Your mom, she's been acting irrationally. But I don't know what to do. I don't want to lose you, but I don't want to lose her either. You're my son, Sam, and I love you, but she's not well." The words stung, but I managed to keep my voice steady. "Then why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you stand up for me when it mattered?" I don't know what to say anymore," he muttered, his voice cracking. "I can't keep fighting with her, but I'll support you. I just don't know how to fix this." A week later, things took a turn for the worse. David and I were out running errands when we returned home to find a car parked in front of our house. A car that didn't belong to any of our neighbors. I could feel my heart start to race. We walked up to the front door, and I froze. My mom was standing there, holding a bag of groceries, a strained smile on her face. "I've been trying to reach you," she said, her voice soft, almost as if she hadn't been the one sending threatening letters. "I just wanted to talk, Sam. To fix things. I don't want to lose you. I want to be a part of your life again." David stepped in front of me. "No, Karen. It's over. You've crossed a line, and it's done. We're done." The look on her face was pure shock, and I finally saw it for what it was: manipulation. "I'll get the lawyers involved if I have to," David continued, his voice unwavering. "And we'll file a restraining order if you don't leave us alone. I'm protecting my family, and you're not part of it anymore." I thought the hardest part of all of this would be cutting ties with my family. But I was wrong. The real battle wasn't just about cutting the cord. It was about surviving what came after. After my mom's unexpected appearance at our door, I knew things were about to get even worse. It wasn't just about me anymore. It was about David, our baby, and everything I had worked so hard to protect. I had to make a decision. How far would I go to make sure they couldn't hurt us anymore? A few days after my mom's appearance, the legal process was set in motion. With my lawyer's help, we filed a restraining order against my mom and Maya. I wasn't just doing this to get her out of my life. I was doing it for my baby, for the future I was trying to build with David. The paperwork went through quickly, but I still couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't enough. Restraining orders were pieces of paper. They didn't stop someone determined enough to break through every barrier you put up. They didn't stop people like my mom, who believed she was entitled to everything, even at the cost of her own son's happiness. But it was a step. And that step led to the phone call that I never thought I'd get. It was from my dad. I'm sorry, Sam," he said, his voice shaky, almost like he didn't know what to say. "I've been thinking a lot about everything. And I should have been there for you. You're right. I didn't stand up for you when I should have. I let her drag us all into her mess, and I can't fix it. I can't fix what I let happen." My heart ached hearing him say that. I wanted to scream at him, tell him he couldn't just say sorry and expect everything to be okay. But then he said something that made my stomach flip. "I've filed for divorce." I stayed silent, trying to process what he had just said. "You're really going through with it?" "I have to, Sam. She's gone too far. I can't be part of her chaos anymore. And you shouldn't have to be either." In that moment, I realized the man who had been so passive all these years, my father, the one who always tried to keep the peace, was finally breaking free from my mom's influence. When my father filed for divorce, it wasn't just my mom who was left stunned, it was the whole family. My siblings, cousins, and family friends, who had been kept in the dark about the extent of my mom's behavior, now had to confront the truth. I wasn't the only one who had been manipulated. I wasn't the only one who had suffered. Liam, my brother, was especially affected. He had tried so hard to be the peacemaker, to keep everyone happy, but he was finally coming to terms with the fact that this wasn't a family, it was a dysfunctional cycle of enabling. He reached out to me one afternoon, his voice full of regret. "I'm sorry, Sam. I should have listened to you all those years ago. I let her drag me into her mess, and I'm paying the price for it now. I was too blinded by loyalty to see the damage she was causing." For the first time in years, I felt like he really understood. It wasn't just about forgiving anymore. It was about healing. I knew that healing wouldn't come overnight, but it had to start somewhere. And then came the final blow. A week after my dad's divorce filing, I received another package in the mail. This time, it wasn't a letter or a photo. It was a manila folder, thick with documents. My stomach churned as I opened it. Legal papers. In it, my mom was trying to claim custody of my child. The document was filled with false accusations, claiming that I was unfit to be a father, that I was mentally unstable, and that David was an influence that had turned me against my family. It was like a twisted version of a custody battle, but this wasn't about love. This was about control. This was about my mother feeling entitled to my life, to my baby's life. I was horrified. This wasn't just a family feud anymore. This was a battle for my future. And the stakes had never been higher. By the time my mom showed up at my doorstep again, it wasn't a surprise. I had prepared myself. But nothing could have prepared me for what she said. "You really think you can keep him from me?" she sneered, her voice dripping with venom. "You think you can shut me out of your life and I'll just go away? I'm his grandmother, Sam. I deserve to be a part of his life." Her words were like daggers. And for the first time in years, I felt nothing. No guilt. No fear. Just a cold, calculated certainty that I was doing the right thing. "I'm done," I said, my voice low and steady. "You crossed the line. I don't want you in my life anymore. And I won't let you hurt my child. You're not welcome here, and you never will be." David came up behind me, standing firm. "You heard him. Stay away from my wife and my child. You're not welcome here." After that confrontation, everything finally settled. My mom tried a few more times to reach out, but I blocked her number. I ignored her emails, her letters. I even made sure the lawyer sent another cease and desist letter. I wasn't playing anymore. I wasn't going to let her into my life, not if it meant jeopardizing everything I had worked for. The fallout was inevitable. My mom was furious, but her attempts to turn my family against me fell flat. My dad, despite the ugly divorce, remained my rock. He was more involved in my life than ever before. Liam and his wife stood by me, and my wife, Emily, remained my unwavering ally. Over time, my relationship with my dad and brother improved. They understood now what I had been through. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But we were rebuilding. And then, there was my son. My little boy, the one who had brought so much light into my life. Seeing him grow, hearing his first words, holding him close as I rocked him to sleep, it was worth every fight. He was my future, my everything. And no one would take that from me. It wasn't easy. There were still moments when I thought about my mom, about the woman I thought I knew, and I felt a pang of sadness. I missed the mother I had once had, the one who loved me unconditionally. But the woman who showed up at my door was not that person. And I had to accept that she never would be again. Now, as I look at my family, David, my dad, my brother, and the little life growing in my arms, I realize something. I am free. Free from the manipulation, the control, the chaos. And for the first time in my life, I feel whole. The end, or is it?